This is my 2012 Triumph Street Triple, and I've got an idea to make it a little bit safer in traffic. Welcome to Hacker Week. So this is it. It's a little LED flashy light, yellow and amber. I picked these up on Amazon for a very reasonable price. What is it? $13.91, 14 bucks. And they come in amber, white, let's see, 4 pieces or 2 pieces, 6 times the amber white, 6 times the blue white, etc., etc. They come in green white, they come in red white, and they're just 12 volts, pretty neat. They have 3 wires on them, and the 3 wires are power, ground, and pattern select. So let me show you that now. There it is, all hooked up to power. Power, ground, and the yellow wire I've extended with a green wire. This is the one you can change patterns with. Makes it a little easier for me to do that. What I want to do is mount one of these on the front of the bike, on the lower tree, on the forks, and I want to put one on the back of the bike. And they're going to get hooked up to the brake light circuit. So when I put the brakes on, that's when these will flash. Now in traffic, if I'm just cruising along and I just put my fingers on the front brake or just barely hold the rear brake lever under my foot, then what happens then is I get a little bit of flashy light front and rear. So if I'm coming up on some intersection or something where there's a lot of traffic, I'm not sure people can see me, I can just touch that brake a little bit, and people in the front of me that I'm going towards are going to see that, and they're going to notice me. They're not going to turn left in front of me, I hope. But I'm always ready for them to do that, because it seems like everyone out there wants to kill people on motorcycles. I digress. Let's take a look at this. I'm going to turn it on first. It's going to be really bright, so here we go. Just get ready for your screen to blow out. Yeah, they're really bright. I'm going to cover this with a lens cleaning cloth for the rest of this, because these things will drive you crazy if you're watching this on video and they're that bright. So let's just continue like this. I'm going to power it up now. So now we've got something that we can visually deal with. So that's the white ones, that's the amber ones, right? Yeah. So here's the patterns. I think there's 18 of them. So this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7's the one I want to use on the front of the bike. Okay, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, number 14. So number 7 and number 14. 14 I want to put on the back of the bike, just below the brake light, where there is now a reflector. See, eventually it does that, then it goes back to that steady. I like that one. So when you're sitting there with the brake on in traffic, people coming up behind you are going to see that there's something there. It's a motorcycle. Please don't kill me. So there you go. Let's see, that was 17, 18, 19. Yeah, we're back. No, we skipped a couple or something. I went past it. I don't know. I'm confused now. Okay, let's turn this off before someone has a seizure. Let's get to mounting these on the motorcycle. Right here's where I want to mount the rear light. And I've already programmed this one to the pattern I want. So I can put it right there, pretty much in the place of that reflector. I think I can figure out a way to make that work. Even though this is narrower than where these screw holes are, I may be able to come up with something with just some sticky back stuff. Let's get the seat off and see what access is to that area. Let's see, looks like I could get at all of that right through here. All I have to do is drill a hole for the wire, and I can bring the wire up. And then I think, let's see, I just got to find the harness that runs to the rear brake light right there. There it is. It's easy enough. So I just tap into the feed to the rear brake light. I'm not sure if it's switched ground or switched positive. We can figure that out easily enough. There is a connector. So I can test it right there to find out which is which. 3 wires. go to that. Okay, well, that makes sense because there's a tail light as well that's on all the time. Let's check the front end. Just look at that bug-eye crazy face. This thing would be good painted up like a big bumblebee. Kind of like riding on a bumblebee. Got my bell down here, by the way. This is where I want to mount this, just right down here on the lower fork tree. A couple of wire ties, zip ties. They're called various things. I call them wire ties. They're also known as cable ties. Run a couple of those around and just put it on that way. Keep it simple. I don't want to drill any holes. I don't want to do anything with mounting anything permanently with a fastener other than a little wire tie. And then we run the wiring up and tap into the brake light switch for the front. The harness for the front brake light switch is here, and the harness runs here across the front of the bike and ends up over here, and it runs down into this area. If I get this other one out of the way that's already got some splits in the outer sheath, not a big deal, I can get in there, slice that open a little bit, get into the wires, tap into them, find out which one is the brake light switch wires. I do have a manual for this bike. I think it has wiring diagrams, so I need to track that down. Okay, I have tapped into the connector for the rear brake light, and I've got a paper clip shoved into the ground wire, which is black. That kind of makes sense, I guess, on a Triumph. The key's turned on, and let's check. Let's see, I got a green wire. Let's check that one. And that doesn't show anything. Yellow wire shows 10 volts. So my battery's a little low. Anyway, 10 volts on the yellow wire. Green wire is nothing, but let me step on the rear brake lever. There we go. The green wire is the one I want. That's the one for the brake lights. Here's the front wire harness that I want. I'm gonna slice into this sheath carefully. Try not to slice a wire. Just go nice and easy. I'm going to make an assumption that there's going to be a green wire in here. Maybe? No, there's not. I thought for sure we'd have a green wire for the brake light switch. So no green, but I've got all the wires right there exposed. I'm going to get the wiring diagram and see what we've got for the brake light switch on the front. Alright, according to the wiring diagram, it is a black wire. Black and violet. I don't see that. There's two black wires. One's got like silver dots on it. The other one I don't think has any, but it's gonna be one of these black wires, one or the other. So what I'm gonna do is poke into the one with the silver dot with a paper clip. Just tap into that and we'll check it with a voltmeter. All right, the neighborhood dogs are singing away at something. Could be a bear. We have bears around here. Let's check my battery. 12.36, that's not too bad. All right, I'm gonna turn the key on and let's connect to that paper clip and see what we get when I pull on the brake lever. Hey, I guessed right. So that is the one. Cool, now we got the wires identified. It's a matter of mounting up the lights and wiring everything up. And I'm gonna start with this rear light. I took a look inside where this reflector mounts and it just pushes into a couple of plastic connector receiver type thingies. And I think I can probably just pry it off without harming anything. And then what I can do is drill a hole through the center of it for the wire harness, and then mount the LED to this, and then just push this back in place. Very challenging, but I did it. I didn't split it apart. Yes. There we go. So attaching this to the light Yeah, good old E6000. Love this stuff. It'll stick anything to anything. Let's see, let's put some on the light and a nice little glob here. And then we're going to put some on the reflector as well. It's kind of like when you use wood glue, you put a little bit on each side that you're gluing together. Now let's put this in place, and I'm just going to kind of eyeball it to center it up. Doesn't have to be perfect, but I'm going to get it as close as I can, of course. Okay, as I mentioned, I'm just going to wire tie this one to the fork tree. See how this works out. Had to put two of these wire ties together, but it's gonna work out. Let's put this right around the tree. Let's do the other one. Kind of want the ends of those to be hidden. So that's looking pretty good. That's one, and okay, now we tighten them up. Pull them good and tight and see where this light ends up. That's good and solid. That's looking at it about chest level. So it still shows up good. You have to get up way high before you wouldn't see it, and you'd still even see it. So that's a perfect spot. Kind of gives it a little mouth, doesn't it? So on the wiring, pretty simple on the back. I mean, I've got easy access to the green wire to connect into for power. A couple of points here where I could probably pick up a ground real easy. Like right there, that'd be a good one. Just put a little simple eyelet end connector on there for the black wire, and then the other one, of course, goes there. Up front, it's a little different. I need to find a place, and one is right there. That's a good place to put a ground point. And the wire for the light is right here. So I'm going to cut open the sheathing right here just enough to grab that black wire and extract it out a long enough piece so that I can put a little ring connector on and put it on there for the ground, and then route the rest of it up here and along that harness and tap into it right there. So just cut this open without cutting myself. Nice sharp X-Acto works good for this. And the one I want is that black wire. Yeah, there we go. Now I've got some wire to work with. Well, as it turned out, that 8mm bolt, it just kind of spins around, doesn't want to come out. I think it's in a fastener that's in a nutsert, and the nutsert spun, so I'm just leaving that alone. What I did was just drilled a hole right through the aluminum right there in the chassis. Not too invasive, tiny hole, and I'm going to run a sheet metal screw in and put my connector on there for my ground. I put a piece of 14 gauge wire insulation over the top of this small gauge just to help protect it. Now I've got to put a connector on here, and then we can attach it to the ground screw. Alright, that is a solid ground. I've got the positive wire connected to the brake light switch, power feed. Alright, let's test it out. Everything's on the same circuit, so when I press the brake pedal for the rear brake, it should come on. Yes, it does. And for the front brake, excellent. So this whole thing over here now, I just want to wrap a piece of 3M electrical tape around it. 3M Super 33 Plus. This stuff is the bomb. I've been using this since it came out, I think in the 80s, maybe earlier. But Really, really good stuff. Doesn't leave nasty, sticky residue behind. Holds up to heat really well. Really easy to work with. It sticks. It stays stuck. Gonna drill a hole back here for the wire harness. I'm just gonna eyeball this. It's not that critical. The E6000 is set up enough to go ahead and mount this. It's still got a little curing to do, but it's good enough for now. So let me get the wire fed through first and pull that up through. Okay. And then, like I said before, we're just gonna push this thing on there and see how things line up. Should stay okay. I beveled the edges of the light just a little bit so that maybe they'll fit a little bit better. The whole thing will just set in there better. All right, that's it. So pretty easy on this one. I've got easy access to this plug, and to work on it, I can just pop it apart. And now I've got access to this a whole lot easier than trying to work down there. All right, I've got the red wire connected to the green power wire that goes to the rear brake light. Let's give this a good solder up, maybe even a little further up where I peeled too much insulation off. Just put a little solder on there to keep it from fraying. Alright, let's get this connector soldered up. Come on, cool off. There we go. I'm just going to run a screw in to the aluminum part of the chassis right here. And that's my ground. That finishes up the electrical. Let's test it out. Nice. Let's check out the front. All right. I guess that's a wrap for this week. I've got my flashy lights front and rear, and hopefully people will see me a little better now in that heavy traffic. I'm pretty careful anyway, always looking out for other people, always assuming that people are going to make a turn in front of you. Keep those fingers on that front brake a little bit when you're driving in the heavy traffic. Anything you can do to save the time of having to stop the bike to avoid some idiot pulling in front of you. It's tough out there on a bike. People just don't see you, and as I said, what they see is the absence of a car, and that's when they pull in front of you and stupid stuff happens. So it's up to you to be really careful.
So that's it for this week. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell and you will get notifications. All right, until next time.